Guys, I'd like to talk about a few things that I personally keep in my boat for tournament purposes, and of course pre-fishing also. But these are a couple of colors that I keep in the boat at all times, and let me briefly explain. They're called skippy fish. They come in chartreuse, and obviously this is in orange here. And the reason I keep these in here, that even though I do keep a bottle, I just kind of don't like having anything liquid in the boat because, you know, spilling on the carpet and all. But the unique thing about these particular markers are that once they start to run dry, you can take them to your workbench, take the tops off, stick them down into your containers here, and they will self-fill themselves. A little bit more expensive, and I'm telling you, in the long run, you save a lot of money versus buying this at $4.99 a bottle. So, and these last for an extremely long time. I think I filled these maybe twice the whole year. A lot of people ask me, Bill, when do you know when to use which colors and stuff like that? In the spring of the year, starting in February, it's hard to beat chartreuse on the back of any bait that you use, whether it be a jig or a spinner bait. It seems to zone in on chartreuse a lot better. In the fall of the year, when the leaves start turning and start coming off the trees and everything, I like to go to the orange because they have a tendency to feed more of a crawfish during that period of time. And so I actually use orange, and I get seems like I get a lot more bites. People ask me a lot of times about scent. Do I use scent? I think scent's very important. I think anything that you can do to enhance the smell on any bait you're throwing can only encourage the fish to bite your particular baits and stuff like that. So what I use two different products. I use this Jack's juice is a very good product that I use, but I also use the kind of the paste or the salve that comes in like an orange color that you can buy. You can actually buy it in a lot of different places. I think Dick sells it, but it seems to stay on the bait a little bit longer. So I do use that quite often also. I never leave home without my super glue, and people say, well, what do you use that for all the time? I use it in jig fishing quite a bit, and we'll illustrate that in a little bit later presentation. But it's also good if your skirts are not staying up on your spinner bait or something to do that. Gerald's got a juice out. It's called the G juice that I put 2 drops in each one of my live wells prior to blast off in a tournament to help my fish survive. So I definitely use that. The other thing that I think is very important, a lot of times you'll be getting bites, you're not getting the hook in or something like that. I always keep a file in my boat to sharpen my hooks. I've seen times that would just run that thing across the hook several times. It has enhanced my bite where I actually start setting some hooks.
Just demo on a spinnerbait how you do that, Bill.
Let me show you what I do, and there's, you know, a lot of different. I've always been taught over the years to take it and always go away from the point. And what I do this in a circular motion. I start with the left-hand side of the bait, and I press pretty hard all the way around until I go all the way around to the right-hand side of the hook. And then when I do this, I go back over one time, and then what I do very gently, because you're going to have a little bit of a barb there, very gently taper it off like I said. And obviously the rule of thumb is that when I do that, just take your fingernail, stick it in there. You'll notice how that's pegged in there now. That's not moving at all. Again, plus you can always sort of feel it, how sharp it is. It makes a big difference sometimes when you catch a fish and don't catch a fish. This little tool here is a tool that I usually keep several of them in the boat and everything. And this has saved me a tremendous amount of money over the years on jig fishing, spinnerbait fishing, crankbait fishing. Basically, all it is just an old spark plug. What I do is open up the little gap down here, insert a little swivel on there. It's got an opening like this. And when that plug or whatever's down 8 or 10 foot, just stick that on your line, snap it back, drop it. But here's the key when you use the spark plug as release on any kind of plug. Never try to do it at an angle. In other words, you've got to get vertically aligned with the plug that's on the bottom of the lake. What happens, the end of the spark plug comes down and it'll hit up against, I'm going to just use the illustration of the spinnerbait. What it does, it comes down right on top of the lead to where you've hooked it down. But if you hit it in an angle, all it's doing is bouncing off the lead. So what you want to do is come straight down on the plug. I get right up over the top of it and I shake it like that, and you can actually feel it hitting your plug at a depth. About 90% of the plugs that I get hung up on, that right there has retrieved them. So this is an excellent retriever for your doors. Vital as important is a pair of scissors. Always have a nice pair of scissors. And people say, well, Bill, you got some small scissors. I got, I use, fingernail cutters and stuff like that to cut. This right here is important when you get hung up on the bank somewhere. And sometimes a little small limb or something like that, you take a pair of scissors and cut the limb off to get your plugs back. Saves you a lot of time and effort. It keeps you from losing a lot of plugs by having a long pair of scissors. So I keep those in there. Little device is very important by keeping the boat. A lot of times, if fish are hitting real hard, especially on a spinnerbait, you'll lose your outside blades. This is very important to keep a few extra blades in your boat to where you can take it, insert it into your O-ring, put your new blade on there and continue fishing. Very difficult sometimes if you don't have this little tool. Very important. A lot of times when fish eat a jig or eat a spinnerbait or a crankbait or something like it, it gets lodged down in his throat. Take a big old pair of needle nose like this, stick down in there, twist it one time to the right, back to your left a little bit, 9 times out of 10 it'll come dislodged. Another tool, very inexpensive tool, you buy at the Bass Pro Shop Academy. Little old barb on the end, stick it down there to where the hook's at, put the hook into the little latch there, squeeze it, shake it, comes right off. Excuse me. Another tool we overlook sometimes. Nothing more disgusting than to be starting out early in the morning you can't see. Keep your little flashlight, LED light in your boat at all times. It helps you, obviously tie on lures, etc. Very inexpensive tool, worth everything.
That's good.
Tommy, this is for you early morning.